Volkswagen Beetles have had a more than unusual upbringing and development through their production time, from being Hitler's people car to being Disney's feature car, with their start of development being more than rocky and rejected by many powerful countries. We are exploring how in the end the Volkswagen Beetle ended up being America's best-selling car. My initial research took me to the National Motor Museum in Beaulieu, where they have a 1953 Volkswagen Beetle on display. Here I spoke to Patrick Collins, who is the museum's Research and Inquiries Officer. He filled me in on how the Volkswagen Beetle started its production in 1939 in Germany.
The origins of what we now think of as the Volkswagen Beetle date back to the 1920s and 1930s, and it was actually conceived by Dr. Ferdinand Porsche, who we think of as a designer of sports cars and racing cars. But he, for a long time, had been fascinated by the idea of providing a small, economical car for the average person. He was working on more designs in the early 1930s, just as Adolf Hitler's Nazi government came into power. At the 1934 Berlin Motor Show, Hitler said, "I see no reason why millions of good, hard-working people should be excluded from car ownership." And at that time, he looked at the project that Porsche was working on for another small car, and he said, "I think you should make it more streamlined, take your cue from nature," and he said, "perhaps make it look like a beetle." And that, many people believe, is where the idea of the beetle name came from. Hitler's idea was to make the German population mobile, to build autobahns and then to give them an affordable car as a way of moving around the country, probably to gain greater popularity amongst the population.
Production of the first Beetle started in 1940. At this time, World War II had already started.
630 cars were produced during the war years, although the military version, the Kübelwagen, which was produced in, I think, about huge numbers of about 50,000. At the end of the war, the factory had been 75% destroyed by Allied bombing. Control was handed to the British military under the control of Major Ivan Hurst, who tried to get production going again to give the local people work, if you like. Both the Americans and the British looked at the factory, looked at the car with a view to possibly moving production to the USA or to Britain as part of war reparations. The representative of the Ford Motor Company said that, "I don't think what we're being offered here is worth a damn." The British Commission, which was under Sir William Rootes of the Rootes Group, he was a little bit more polite, but he said that the vehicle does not meet the fundamental technical requirements of a motor car. And the British Intelligence Service produced this document, which was an investigation into the design and performance of the Volkswagen, or the German people's car. But effectively, both nations wrote the Volkswagen off as having no future, and in 1948 was returned to German control. The rest, as they say, is history.
21,529,464 Type 1 Volkswagen Beetles were built and produced until 2003.
The Beetle was exported to more than 100 countries, and satellite factories were actually set up in 19 other countries.
It was left to question, why did this vehicle become so popular with the average public? Was it because of its new, smaller and low revving engine that could run all day perfectly, which was new for this time, as many cars would die after a long run? It was even quoted to be America's most ideal compact car. Or was it because of a new Disney movie released in 1969 attracting more people to this car? In this movie, called The Love Bug, we followed a Volkswagen Beetle named Herbie, who was a self-driving, self-aware car, as him and his owner competed in different races and tasks to stay out of trouble. I believe this started the Volkswagen Beetle franchise. So, from 1969 to 2005, Herbie appeared in multiple different movies and shows, until his last appearance in 2005 in the show called Herbie Fully Loaded. In 1994, the Volkswagen Beetle had its first needed style change. From 1994 to 2014, a new modernised version called the New Beetle started to be produced. This was its first major upgrade it had in over 60 years. This car included a small vase by the steering wheel to show nods to its flower power roots. These cars were produced with more colourful and abstract designs, some even being painted like the Herbie. As sales started to decline since 2013 with no real reason why, it was announced that the final version of the Volkswagen Beetle will be produced in 2019. So, in September 2019, the last ever Volkswagen Beetle was produced. However, CEO of Volkswagen Heinrich J. Robenbeck said never say never to reproducing the Beetle.